Recording. It's in progress.
Oh,
I don't know your video hasn't started yet, but we'll see what it does.
yeah. Let me switch it up to the face.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna be a little bit
As you,
more this time around. Go ahead and tell us your name and where you're coming from.
All right, my name is Red, aka Rob England. Me and Liam are in a group together called Red Butter. And me and him kind of do a lot of back and forth about gear, um, setup, MIDI, audio routing, mixing, mastering, and all kinds of confusing stuff. And Liam has been my partner in figuring all this stuff out. So hopefully I can kind of give y'all some insight onto how I have interpreted everything. And I'm sure you guys are very familiar with how Liam has interpreted all this stuff. But yeah.
Hey, Nikolai, man.
fire.
Nikolai, man. I realized that I dropped the ball in the last Zoom. We heard me talk for so long. I didn't even intro myself. I didn't let you intro you. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the Zoom because I'm recording these.
I am Bear of Sidechain.
Okay.
This is the name I go by.
There you go.
Uh, I do weird noises and
Hey,
also other stuff.
hey.
Shit, I should have prepared for this.
Nah, man, it's all good, man. I'm sure Woody will be here in a second. I'm sure.
I
Yeah, but I wanted to bring Red in on this because I feel like these are real cool opportunities for us to flesh out the technical side of things.
mhm,
Just
mhm,
because, like in pre-recorded videos, I realize when I watch them back that even if
mhm,
I make a script for myself, even if I do an outline, there's like
mhm,
questions that I was like,
mhm.
well, I'll complete my sentences. Well, it's like I told him to put it into that end, but coming from where? So it's like these are kind of better on the technical side of things,
Mhm.
able to, you know, really flesh
Mhm.
stuff out and really ask questions once we get the ball rolling in the what direction.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Red is really the technical side of our.
Mhm.
He does all the googling and
Yeah,
figures
I
out.
do a lot of Googling to figure out all the confusing things that happen to us. I make sure all those things disappear by the time Liam gets back. So we have a new bundle of confusing things to
Problems have
deal
a
with.
problem. We actually we
Dope, dope.
we actually went on a little mini tour of Texas last year,
Mhm.
and it was a Dawless setup, and we had about what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had about 9 instruments on stage between us.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was too much. Like we did one set. I remember we were just like totally out of tune. We pulled it together like halfway through, but it was crazy. Like I had my turntable running into my OP1, running
Mhm.
my digitone, running in
Mhm.
my digitac. So you have four instruments building up noise all the way through this chain, and it was crazy. I was probably gonna start a fire in my case, like
Too much, too much. Who that? That's that Nubian brother William.
Which is
Rubium. William was good.
Will, what's up, man? He's connecting to audio. I'm in here with the black coffee, drinking black
I
Oh,
coffee.
there was creamer down there.
It's all good. I wanted the official
here's
the official head first. Yeah, man. But yeah, so we went on that tour, and it's like I really leaned on Red a lot to figure out the technical part of it. Like even the way
Mhm.
we created the cases that we were using, not a lot of people had entered that territory. It's like I got the idea from a couple folks on Reddit, like
Mhm. Mhm.
kinda, kinda. I just based on like looking at what they did and tried to come up with something. But I won't. I don't think I'll travel with that many instruments ever again.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think I think the deepest lesson from that is that less is more, and that having it is cool to have a whole bunch of instruments doing a bunch of things on stage, but that's 3, 4 times as many things that can go wrong, get out of tune, and you can't focus on one thing. Like I would much rather just bring like my sampler or like one synth, especially when I'm collabing
Mhm.
with somebody else
Mhm.
and kind of like fill in the blank space.
Mhm.
when you're by yourself, yeah, you want like a little bit more power. But even so, like you can like I think live shows are a chance to stretch like your one box, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah, so
But
in addition to what you were saying, choosing a box that could be a proper representation of your at-home setup.
mhm,
Choosing a box that like has the sample capabilities, has the sequencing capabilities, and probably is sort of like a drum machine synth hybrid, something that could do a little bit of both for you.
Yep.
Is like I think that's like ideal instead of trying to bring everything with you. Something that just could be just good representation of everything.
mhm.
You know, because that now
True.
I'm thinking like
Yeah, makes sense.
like how can I record the chunks of the beats into the boxes and not really just be playing back beats,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
manipulate the parts of the beats to make something a little bit that's a little bit more engaging for the viewer.
Yeah, make it
Mhm.
fun and most importantly efficient. You know, because like the consumer of this music doesn't care. Like some people in the crowd care. They're like, or they're just blown away for like 5 minutes, and then it's like, okay, like what does your music sound like? You know, so
Right.
all that stuff is kind of, you know, irrelevant to the bigger picture, and we always need to keep that in mind, and you know, not get too obsessed with all the buttons and boxes.
That's facts. Will, what's up, man?
Interesting.
Yo, what's the deal? I'm trying to get my headset together, man. I'm
Will
trying
is
to
like,
work
oh
it out.
shit, god damn.
William,
Will with the trippy cam.
Yeah, you're trying to man, turn my camera around. Um,
that picture's
we
ill.
trying to avoid the feedback. I was trying to get my headset together, but I don't want to have any feedback loops. So I probably got to go inside and grab another set of headphones or something. If I want
Oh,
not feedback loop.
it's all good, brother. It's all just good to have you here on a Sunday. This is gonna be the new hangout. You know, feel me on Sundays.
Yeah, I appreciate it,
Yeah.
man. It's all, what up, Red?
What's up, my guy? How you doing?
Well,
Chilling. What up, Bear?
that's good. What do you, Red, you just said something about like impressing people. My impression was, especially when it comes to a live environment where people play instruments, that those boxes are actually what, you know, people listen to the music, but they're blown away by all the blinking lights and stuff that you do to all the different things.
Totally.
When you reduce it to one or two boxes, do you think it still has a similar like visual impression?
Probably not. I think it's about finding a balance in between both of those things. Like what is an efficient setup for you?
Mhm.
But what like you're still presenting like you're a performer, right? So
Right.
you need to have something. And for me, like I have a turntable. Like that's my
Mhm.
kind of live gimmick. So that's my live
Mhm.
performance element that I add on top of the boxes, which
Gotcha.
allows me to kind of minimize my box setup and kind of have a performance tool. So I think it's kind of I think it would be helpful to kind of have a lead instrument.
Yeah.
It maybe you're
Gotcha.
not the best instrumentalist, but figuring out something that kind of works in your set list that people can be like, oh, that's dope. I see what he's doing. They make that connection as opposed to, oh, I turn this knob and a bunch of crazy shit happens, you know.
Mhm.
But so it's
Mhm.
a balance, and it depends on how you approach music. And I think that's
Mhm.
there's not probably not one way to go about it, but I think efficiency is the most important thing to keep in mind, you know.
Mhm.
I think also understanding the impressive parts of the instrument that you're working on too will help.
Mhm.
Just like when we went on tour, the I think like the most impressive part of my setup was the Octatrax crossfader.
Yeah.
So it's like I would program stuff to the Octatrax crossfader, knowing that
Mhm.
this will impress.
Right.
So it's like for someone who has like an MPC one or an MPC live, I would translate that into like knowing that the XY screen, that the touch screen
Mhm.
is like one of the most obviously impressive parts of the functionality of the box.
Mhm.
And programming it in obvious ways where it has dramatic effect.
Mhm. Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
like doing
Mhm.
stuff like
Absolutely.
either big filters or surprising synth sounds. So it's like,
Mhm.
yes, my fingers on the MPC and I'm doing it and you're hearing it. Wham!
Mhm.
Like,
Absolutely.
you know, like, so sort of thinking like that in your prep, I think that could just be, you know,
That's a very good
like
point.
just knowing what, like knowing your instrument, like knowing what is the impressive parts of it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't think
You
about
feel me?
that.
Like, I was thinking about before, like when I was doing SP sets and everybody else was doing SP sets, it's like the most impressive part of the SP 404 is the DJ effects looper. So that's what everybody leans on for their live. That's why they lean on it. And it's like the most. So yeah, it's just about knowing your instrument.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that
Absolutely.
shines through still. Like visually, you knowing your one box well, I think still has a big impact on the crowd. You know, they're not like all just, you know, layman's impressed by lights and flashy, shiny things,
Shit.
you know, like
And a lot of times, you know, Red, he's a DJ, so he understands a lot of times they like where you're positioned that they can't even see your setup.
Right.
So sometimes it's like it's a big deal, like that they can see what's going on.
yeah.
And other times it's like you can have a fucking $40,000 booklet set up there and they not even know.
Yep.
You know, and
I can see that. Yeah.
they just hear it. So yeah, I think about like if you're like, it's like, yeah, there's like an audible performance element, like the music part of it, and then there's like a visual performance element as well. So it's like,
Absolutely.
I think it's about, like you said, like marrying the two between them. Like if you do have less boxes, well, you can, that makes things easier for you. So what do you do with that savings? You make things easier for yourself.
Yeah, now you have a free fingers.
So now you have two free fingers to do something else. So what do you do with what you just economized?
Absolutely.
I think that's when the marriage like sort of comes in. Like, okay, this person is clever. That's when you can start getting tricky.
Yeah.
Just you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
How is everything synced? Because you were saying like the stuff runs into OP runs into another box. Are they synced, or are you just playing by ear?
Yeah, they're all synced in that. So that was like the very first generation of our setup. So there was a lot of jankiness to that setup. But yeah, I would run in. I believe the master tempo was the OP1, sending it to the digitone, then to the digitact, and then sending clock to Liam's setup. I believe, or were you master clock? You know, it you know, vice versa. It could go in the same other direction.
Other direction. Which is all like we use these little Dore MIDI hubs. Small little MIDI hub that'll convert one MIDI channel into 5 or 6.
That's right. Yeah, we buried the Dore MIDI, the MIDI through boxes is what happens. So you have 1 in and 4 outs to your like 3 for your boxes and then 1 to spread to your partner's box.
Got you.
So
yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah, so we can share clock across the 2 setups. But we didn't have pattern change because the octa track is notorious for not receiving pattern change from the digitax and the tones. And it won't send pattern change either.
No, it will now. I figured it out.
Oh, you figured it out?
Yeah, like you just have to be specific about the channel you're sending and receiving from. The auto channel is just not very good.
Yeah, the auto channel. We didn't have it figured out at the time. So it was like we were looking at each other like an old jazz group. Like right here. Now, okay, now
that was, I forgot about that.
But like it was cool because like the approach we used, we wrote everything in the same key. So we wrote all the tracks that we had, which were about 12. We composed them all in the same key. So if I changed patterns before him or vice versa, sonically it wouldn't shift that much because it's still written in the same. All the notes would still work.
Yeah.
So it's like it was kind of cool. It would create like a more gradual transition, almost like a blend style type of setup.
Also, same BPM the whole way through too.
Same BPM all the way through.
But you know, you can do, you know, double time, you know, cut it in half, do half time, and then kind of still bring it up and down and have the natural transitions that you want to set to have, you know.
Yeah.
Right. What happens on the transition? How do you go about transition when the BPM changes?
Oh no, it's not really changing. So let's say our master clock is let's say our fast time is 150. Our slow
Mhm.
tempo is 75. So
Mhm.
75 plus 75 is 150. So in essence, it's the same tempo.
Oh, so you line up the tracks so that they are like super similar in
Well,
BPMs, basically.
it's like double time and halftime. So 60
Mhm.
BPMs, 120 BPMs is just 60 BPMs doubled.
Right.
So it doesn't throw anything off.
Hmm.
You could superimpose 120 BPMs over 60 BPMs
Hmm.
and things would feel
Easily.
easily like
Uh-huh.
they feel generally the same.
Yeah, and the
Uh-huh.
crowd perceives it in the same way
In the
as if
same
you were
way.
to have a change up mid DJ set or whatever you were doing.
Yeah, it feels like a transition of BPM, but it's really not so much.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, it's a
Interesting.
trick on the ears.
It is.
What
Okay.
I've been trying to figure out is like I feel like there is a elusive allow me forgive me allow me to let me apologize
Okay.
for saying the word. I feel like there's a mystic third tempo
Okay.
in between halftime and double time that will work on shit like triplets. I haven't found it yet.
Well, wouldn't it just be like the 6/4? Like wouldn't like how you mix a blues song over a 4/4 song isn't technically that?
That's the third tempo. I haven't
Yeah.
figured out the math on it yet. So we have 70, you have 140, and wouldn't it be something that falls somewhere what
It'd be like 9.
6 bars is it then,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like it
Yeah.
loops every 6 bars or something.
It
the
is.
third tempo that'll rock too.
Yeah. No, that's
Mhm.
there is. I don't think it's very mystic. I think that
Oh,
has
for
to be a
real?
real thing. We just have to figure out the
We gotta
term for that.
figure out the term for the third tempo in between double time and halftime that still works.
I mean, wouldn't it just be a third of it?
It'd be a quarter
Mhm.
but it, whatever in between there wouldn't
No,
Not-
it'd be 3/4 timing,
It's
right?
three-fourths.
Three-fourths.
It's 75%.
Yeah.
So what's that? That's what I'm saying.
All right.
What the fuck? It's a challenge.
Brain hurts.
I haven't figured it out. I've been trying to figure it out for years. Like, what's the other third BPM throw in?
Yeah, we should be able
Mhm.
to calculate that like
Bro,
we do anything.
if it was
Yeah.
60 and 120, it'd be 90.
It would be
Would it?
90. What fits in between if you cut the difference between six? Because
Wouldn't it
Yeah,
just cut
it'd
it
be
in
90 something. Theoretically, yeah.
theoretically,
Mhm.
in theory, but this is music, so it
It's
works kind of.
audible.
Yeah.
So
There's layers to it.
there's layers to it. The onion gets deep. It'll work up to a point, and then it'll start drifting,
Mhm.
probably, and then it'll come back.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to account for something.
And it would extend for like 16 bars or to 32
2
bars
bars.
for it to, or maybe 24
Well,
bars.
yeah, 24
Yeah.
or 12 and for it to loop around and get back right.
Yeah.
Yo,
Is
fucking time
Mhm.
matching, BPM matching is such a fucking skill
Mhm.
and an art. If you know what you're doing, yo, it's an art.
Mhm.
You can be artistic
It is.
with how timing falls.
This specific trick, this part of the full measure is what I enjoy in ARPs. You know, I'd often take like a very odd signature for the ARPs, like 7/12.
Yeah.
And then it repeats after 24 bars, but within the 8 bars, it doesn't make sense. You have to play it through till it
True.
like makes a full loop. But
Yeah.
it introduces this extra rhythm to the whole thing
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
like kind of in, but also not in the beat.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it would take a combination of LFOs and effects to make it make sense enough.
Yeah, I do.
Uh-huh.
I've
Mm-mm.
on the Octatrack recently.
Yeah.
I put the ARP in 5/4.
Yeah.
And then it's like almost like if your loop point is at a certain point and you're at a certain tempo, it's almost just like adding swing to it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That part.
Yo, so look,
So-
that's what I was talking to somebody else. I was talking to K Love recently. You know K Love from Instagram.
Oh.
Good people, man. It's William right hand man, but K Love is good. And I was telling him about how I haven't used swing on any of my boxes in a long time, but they're all quantized. But they're quantized as strict 4/4 or strict just like 16th note quantization, right?
Mhm.
But I could still pull swing out based on what you guys are talking about, which is creating polyrhythms in there that work off a straight timing.
Right.
It implies
Right.
you can imply swing, and it was something that I talked about in one of my tutorials where it's like trap hi-hats. Let's say trap hi-hats, they may be in 16th notes and 32nd notes. Let's say it's 24 trap hi-hats in a bar. It's 24 of them that occupy that bar. I'll say that there's probably about 6 to 8 key ones that will imply the same amount of swing without the rest of them being there.
Exactly. And then like as a drummer, that's your accent.
Accents. You could take the majority of them away and leave probably about 8 or 6 of them that will give you the same implied swing. Almost like those, you ever seen those t-shirts or those posters where it's like they'll write sentences without any vowels and your mind will fill in all the logical gaps. Right, like a sentence. It's like I love you forever, but they'll have no vowels, but your mind could fill in all of the gaps with no problem. It's almost the same thing. It's like you don't need as many notes as you think you do.
Right.
Absolutely.
It implies
because the brain fills in the gaps automatically.
The brain will fill in the gaps. So it's up to us as musicians just to figure out which are the prominent ones, the landmarkers that know what we're talking about.
Right.
The accents.
Which are the accents that actually are making this. It's
all about emphasis. Like where are you emphasizing in the beat, and then where are you repeating emphasis?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, it's really layered how you could break this stuff on down, man. Go ahead and show Bear some of the lab, man.
God damn.
Where to begin?
It's a spaceship.
yeah, man. This is my spaceship. So as of right now, I have, let's see, can y'all see? I have my Octatrack as my main hub for everything that I'm doing, and really just running like stereo samples on it mostly, and then using it to control all my other instruments. I have 4 MIDI channels going to my 4 voices in my Euro rack, and another channel for the Moog. And this is relatively new. I got the Octatrack a few months ago, so I'm still learning it. But that's master clock to everything. I'm using Digitac for my drum machine, Digitone as my poly synth, and then Matriarch does most of my like ARPs and bass lines and stuff like that. And then the really cool part about this whole setup actually is how I have it in the patch bay. So every synth, make sure. Yeah, so every synth is plugged into this patch bay, which means I don't have to unplug any of these rear connections unless I'm sampling something. I have my Moog going into the first 2, and I can have a thing going on the Moog, and at any time I can patch that into the Octatrack and sample it, and then let it keep going. And I can do that with all the instruments and run the turntables into the patch bay. I can, run the output from the turntable into any of the other instruments. And then they all have their own dedicated channel in Ableton. So I get all the track outs. Yeah, that's the bulk of the setup. And then also on the patch bay, I have, some analog units that I can patch into stereo EQ, a Pultec Mimic EQ, bus compressor, and then I have a preamp and a compressor, which is running the microphone in the vocal booth.
Okay. So it's not the master chain, it's something that you apply as needed.
Yeah, it's a combination. Like I could just run it straight into Ableton if I wanted, but I'd be kind of limited. So running it into the patch bay allows me to have to utilize it on the input chain as well as, run it back out
on the
for my master chain when I start mixing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dope.
But yeah, anything else I need to add, Lean?
I could add some a little bit. Over here is the drum setup. Right here, where we run the drums into the patch bay or into a little mixer, a little Mackie mixer sitting over here on the table.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I'm normally at. This is like the guitar rig over here.
Uh-huh.
This is Liam's corn over here. Hella records.
Hella records.
Hella records everywhere.
More records.
Not as many as Will's crib. Will got more records. I ain't gonna lie to you. Got a vocal booth. Vocal booth in here. Yeah, Will's crib is the foundation is record, the insulation is records, the walls are like, yeah, seriously, the whole crib is records.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
But I really wanted you guys just to hear a more technical perspective of what I do, especially what I do collaboratively with Red, because I'm sure you guys are going to collaborate with each other, or with other people at some point. So like,
already.
yeah, MIDI is the way. We've been trying to get
Yeah, can we talk about our new setup then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the new Red Butter Dallas set, like we were talking about earlier, having some kind of lead instrument, something that you can improvise and solo with, accompanying your box. So what me and Liam are working on is, I'm a drummer, he's a bassist. So as of right now, we're gonna both have our Octatracks up there. I also have my little compact suitcase drum kit. And we'll have all that stuff.
What is wait. Just what is a compact suitcase drum?
Oh man, okay. So we actually dropped a video about this on our YouTube channel, but this is something that I looked at, and found some articles that other people have done, but I grabbed a vintage suitcase and I'm turned it into a kick drum. So and it has an out.
Oh wait, it took me a second to realize.
Maybe not even get a better angle of it. Yeah. So we're gonna have both of our instruments running into the Octatrack. We have looper tracks, because the Octatrack has 8 tracks that you can kind of customize and do whatever you want. So multiple pickup tracks, which are just looper tracks that we can add and subtract to. He can add a bass line, add a lead over it, at which point we can sample that track to the other side of the Octatrack, where we can then edit it. So we can live record our samples with our instruments and then bounce them over to the programming side of our Octatracks, and then chop them up, remix them, and kind of build it, add more sounds to it, and turn it into an actual joint live without even having a lot of sounds to pull from, just the sounds that we create in our pools beforehand, which is that's the goal, the tentative goal. We'll see how it works out and how it changes as we go.
Which is like, this is when you work in the studio, right? This is
no, we're trying to do this live, like in front of people.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like, so perform with the Octatracks live, looping our instruments, and then being able to edit and program those on stage as if we were in the studio. So Liam has it a bit easier. He's got the bass, so that's easy to just directly plug it in. I have to kind of worry about how I'm gonna mic the drum set and then compress it and then run it into the Octatrack. So it's gonna be a project, but I think me and Liam have both been trying to develop ways to make it less about the gear, utilizing the gear to their max potential, but also kind of adding familiarity to it, so we can do these kinds of things, and it doesn't have to be a bunch of synth nerds, standing around to appreciate it. It's got a drum set and a bass guitar, and then we can kind of take it into a different dimension with it, theoretically. Yeah.
Still crazy. Like I can't wrap my head around how you guys process the sampled material live and program and do all that stuff.
Just imagine a looper pedal with hella channels. Okay, imagine a looper pedal, hella channels, and then imagine like a DAW attached to your looper pedal.
Mhm.
And there you have it. That's an octatrack. If you had an 8-channel looper pedal that had a DAW attached to it,
Mhm.
there you go. That's an octatrack sitting in front of you. So you can record into a channel and then move it
Mhm.
over to another channel. And now you have 2 of them. You can edit one while the other one is
Mhm.
still playing, and then add to that one like that.
And you cue this like you're listening to the
Yeah,
track.
you can because you have Q outs, you have 4 outs on the octatrack.
Mhm.
You got 4 ends. So you have multiple ends, you have multiple outs. You can, and then you can assign those outs if you just want to monitor through one set of outs and then send another set of outs to the house.
Mhm.
So like you said, you
Mhm.
could queue. So you could queue it.
Mhm.
You could be working on
It's
something while something else is playing.
dope. Yeah, I like that.
And I
That is
just
crazy.
realized that too, that we could be working on stuff while other stuff is playing.
Yep.
We could be working on stuff. We could be up there working meticulously, working hard like little elves. Yo, this studio, the studio looks so dope from this angle. It's just the
Mhm.
the fuselage.
Yep, it definitely looks like a spaceship.
Yeah,
It's like
man.
the cockpit of,
I wanted y'all to have a view in onto in the Reds mind and what I do when I get over here. You know what I'm talking about? Because
Mhm.
Yeah, it's dope. It's dope.
this is also part of my process. I pick up a lot of stuff over here, and if I did, even if I didn't pick up nothing over here, this allows me to reset my palette for what I do individually, for what we do separate.
Mhm.
Like this is like cool to be able to collaborate, and then sometimes when I don't feel inspired, this is where I come.
Yeah, that's my impression actually, that like the collaborations, once 2 minds come together, it changes the game so much, because you have this random inspiration that comes from the other person, that random input from the other person,
Uh,
who's like,
yeah, sometimes collaborations work like that, but me and Red don't like each other.
Yeah, we're like
okay, let's expand on that. Please
Yeah,
elaborate.
yeah, we're always competing with each other. So it's like there's certain shit that is like there's certain things that I'll do that will create a problem for his ear,
Mhm.
and vice versa. And then we'll
Mhm.
have to either learn how to address each other's problems
Mhm.
or rework our part so everything works as a whole.
yeah.
Mhm.
It is. There is like a just a human psychology dynamic behind it. Like working with a group member, like you guys are the only people in the group. So, but you guys are both putting in a lot of work. You have to, you kind of have to learn to like step back while also making sure you're kind of like doing what sounds good and not it. And you got to put your ego away. Like
Yeah.
when
Oh,
we
absolutely. Yeah.
both have big egos, we think highly of ourselves. And that we can, things happen, but we can always learn from it, and we have to figure out how that works. And
That
there's
shit,
a
man.
lot to it.
That shit is about like diplomatic problem solving, like problem solving with the air of diplomacy.
Mm-hmm.
And that shit is like kind of difficult. Honestly, it's kind of difficult, but
Yeah, like if you imagine anybody who I'm not sure what your experience, but my experience with collaborating with people and why I've been able to actually collaborate with Lean is like, you notice like you'll link with another producer and nothing really gets done. Like people are either kind of adding elements that don't fit in, or people are just kind of, it's just not really productive. People are not like, how do you make a complete song with two
Mhm.
people that do the exact same thing?
Mhm.
So me and Liam have had to play it like he's a bassist,
yeah,
I'm a drummer,
yeah,
and we've had to like, that's kind of our lane, and we play it like a band.
yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
And that's easier. That's easier than everybody trying to like being in bands before and having definitive roles. Like this is what you do. You don't step over
Mhm.
the line to what he does. He doesn't step over the line to what you do. It kind of made it easier for us to work together, having those prior experiences separately. Separately, I've had that experience, and he's had that experience as well. Separately for me, it made it easier for us to work together. Be like, okay, know your part, basically, and be able to listen to make the whole, because like that's what you're doing. It's like, it's like working on a ship or working on a yacht with other people. It's like you're collaboratively trying to get to a goal. Like you're trying to make the whole work better. It's about doing micro things to enhance the macro.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like everyone chipping in a spoonful to make a bowl.
Yeah, it's like you get this like one euphoric moment too where it clicks and it's like y'all are both
It's fun. That's what you do it for.
yeah, like and you're constantly just chasing the dragon, kind of you understand that it can work when you feel that, and then you try to learn how to work through all the issues that also come with that.
Mm-hmm.
People are difficult, man, especially artists and creative people. We're all difficult people. Opinionated, we're always right, but like what comes as a result of kind of letting those things go will make you feel like a lot more powerful with your music.
Real quick, y'all, we got 3 minutes left. I wanted to show y'all something, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is a USB-C to MIDI interface. This small. It's just a cord.
Nice.
But with this, my DJ sets are about to be crazy because I've been DJing the virtual DJ and going through my Octatrack with no clock matching as prior. Meaning, so it's like I use my Octatrack like a drum machine or a synth to superimpose things over what the tracks I'm DJing. The virtual DJ got stems, so you could really take the parts out of the tracks I'm playing, and I could introduce new drum parts, introduce new bass lines. So this now, my Octatrack is BPM clocked to my virtual DJ software. So everything everything drops perfectly. It's basically like I got Ableton in the Octatrack.
In the Octatrack.
Yeah. Well, yo, check out
that's
Virtual
dope.
DJ. It's free and it could make stems 6 years ago before Serato. Serato could just do it now. Virtual DJ's been on it. I don't know how their software is in comparison to Virtual DJ, but I've been making acapellas and deconstructing tracks in Virtual DJ for at least 3 years now. And it works well. It works on the spot. What's up, Nat Nubian?
Yo, who you got over there with you? See, so you got a third person over there, which I heard a different voice.
Oh, that's Keith.
What's up, man?
What up, Keith?
Keith,
What up, Keith?
He's the griot. He's the griot for the band. He's the storyteller.
What's up, man?
What up?
Hey, I just
What up,
kind of
Keith?
here. I be trying to soak in their knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a
Do it.
creative person, but I'm not say like a musician per se. I'm a writer, but just being
Yeah,
over
you're a
here-
musician. Writers are musicians.
True.
He got
Everybody.
bars too, like good poetry, good bars.
Yeah.
I got a couple bars. You know what I'm saying? But how y'all doing today? Y'all good?
Yeah, we good. Real quick, y'all was talking about collabs. Me and Bear was working on something earlier today. It's almost fully fleshed out. We was talking about sharing it with y'all shortly once everything comes together.
Drop it in the group.
Video and everything.
Drop it in the group. I'll premiere it in the Patreon, and then we'll do a rollout for Instagram. All right.
Oh shit! The pressure is high.
Appreciate it. Yeah. We'll make it happen. Yeah, we good.
The pressure is on. No pressure. No pressure. But I just want to make sure as many people here though. But look, this thing is about to shut off right now. I love y'all. Love is love, and we will.
Thank you so much.
Not next Sunday, but Sunday after next. All right.
All right.
Dope.
Peace,
Thanks.
y'all.